Hey guys, this is Spoonie, and I'm going to be opening up a little gift from a friend. More specifically, I got an Amazon gift card, and I thought long and hard about what I might want to use it for, and then I finally thought of something, so I pulled the trigger. Anyways, let's see what we got here. So, open. Surprisingly easy. There we go. DC Doomsday Clock, the complete collection. Written by Geoff Johns, with art by Gary Frank. The two collaborate often, and the results are usually quite good. I do know that this is and kind of isn't a sequel to Watchmen. The book stands on its own, so you really don't need a sequel, but I like the premise behind this, and that Dr. Manhattan was behind a lot of the changes in the DC universe, specifically the whole Rebirth era. So I am looking forward to reading this, probably in the new year. Looks pretty cool. I like that for the most part. Well, I know John's is specific about his paneling, I believe, but him and Frank have tried to stick to the 9-panel layout that almost every single page of Watchmen was presented that way. Now, you may have seen in the background, I do have some other books here, and these are books I am going to try to read before I get to this one. So the whole thing with Dr. Manhattan really kicks off with the DC Universe Rebirth. I got the deluxe edition, the hardcover here. Collects all the different covers, I believe, is the big difference. It was still like I think it was like a $10 special issue. But I'd prefer to have the proper binding, especially hardcover if possible. So that sets up the concept, that's Dr. Manhattan's hand there. That sets up the concept of the rebirth because of his sort of interference in the DC universe. Now, it's split into 4 chapters, and one of the chapters ends with Batman finding the comedian's smiley face button lodged in the Batcave. And that's followed up by the next book I've got here, which is Batman the Flash, the button. I don't know if you guys can see this through the camera, but the logo kind of changes. It's sort of Batman and the Flash, and I think it highlights one or the other depending on which way you're looking at it. I actually got this one at the dollar store for $5. What a steal. Now, I want to say you're welcome right now because I bought this book, Doomsday Clock. Now, in the past, like over the year 2023, I ordered exactly 2 books from Amazon. One of them was Convergence, the hardcover, which was DC's 2015 event. I believe it was the thing right before Rebirth. And the second book that I got was actually this book here, Batman and the Flash. But because it was on sale, I ended up getting the soft cover. I think this was like 10 or 12 bucks or something like that. So it's cool to have this, but I think the deluxe edition hardcover is even nicer. I mean, the art is phenomenal, regardless of which version you have. So I don't think that's like a total loss, because again, this was only like $5. So yeah, I've got an extra copy of this, and there's some book drops and stuff like that in my neighborhood. Maybe I'll leave it, some kid will find it. And the last two books you can see here are Watchmen stuff. So I've got the Before Watchmen. This is the Ozymandias, Crimson Corsair, which was the pirate backup stories from Alan Moore's Watchmen. And it has like a one, maybe two issue story of a character called Dollar Bill, who's basically an actor that joined the team. It's drawn by comics legend Steve Rude, and it looks great. It feels like a retro comic. Anyways, this was yet another dollar store acquisition. Luckily, they didn't put a price sticker on this, so I don't have to like take rubbing alcohol to it or whatever. Jay Lee does most of the book. I find with his art, you hate it or love it. I really am a fan. I mean, there's a couple things I've seen him do that weren't that interesting, but typically his visuals are really cool. So this is the Crimson Corsair stuff. It's actually co-written by Len Wein, and if you don't know that name, he created Wolverine. That's kind of all you really need to know. He's a legend, and he's done so much beyond that, but I think that's probably one of the biggest things. Anyways, he co-wrote this with John Higgins, who is an artist who did the art here, but he also does some writing. I think he did the first few dozen issues of the New 52 Nightwing series. I don't think he drew it, though. So his art's really cool here. And here is Dollar Bill. So this is the Steve Rude. He's done the artwork for the cover. And there are his interiors. Very classic looking. Interesting panel layouts. Just great art. I think the coloring helps a lot too. It really feels like some older comic. And I don't know if this is something he normally does as an artist or that's just for this kind of retro feeling story. But you'll see he puts page numbers at the bottom of each page. So again, number 10, number 11. I don't believe modern comics do that anymore. I don't think I've seen that in like a couple decades. Anyways, this seems like a, cool story. I haven't really read it yet because I was hoping to get more of the Before Watchmen books. There's Ozymandias by Jim Lee. So I wanted to get more of the books, but considering I've got this other stuff, I would rather just read this one and then go directly into Watchmen and then Rebirth the Button Doomsday Clock. There's Jim Lee doing Dollar Bill. There are, it has been said, fates far worse than death. And the final book is the classic Alan Moore Watchmen. This came out when I was super young, so I wasn't aware of it and did not have the emotional intelligence to like understand what the context of the stuff and really get into how clever the story actually is. Obviously, once I got older, I did pick up the book, thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, if you can see here, it has the old DC Bullet logo, which is my personal favorite. And on the spine, it just says DC Comics. No logo. I don't think it ever went to Vertigo. I think it is now published under the DC Black label. But yeah, the story is a classic. Dave Gibbons' artwork is fantastic here. He's done some, I think before this, some Green Lantern books that looked really good as well. His depictions of like aliens and monsters and stuff. So if you haven't actually read this book or seen the movie, which I thought was really good, especially if you can watch the director's cut, the Snyder cut. Anyways, I don't want to spoil the story because it's really good. And even if you kind of know the plot points and the basic ending, I think this is still a pretty enjoyable read. It's definitely set in the zeitgeist of the 80s, so kind of being a little bit familiar with what was going on kind of in the West and in Europe in terms of the fear of like nuclear war with Russia and this literal doomsday clock that is counting down to when humanity will die. So apparently, this story was very similar to a Twilight Zone or maybe Outer Limits old episode. And Alan Moore was not aware of this when he started writing it. About halfway through, somebody kind of told him about it, and whether this is something that like seeped through his subconscious or not, or he just kind of came upon this sort of plot on his own, I guess doesn't really matter because, again, this is a great story. So apparently, the origins of this story are I hear he wanted to tell like a DC character thing, but DC wouldn't let him. So he took these old Charlton characters that DC had acquired when they bought the company, and he sort of changed the characters slightly and made them more mature, but it was the same basic thing. So obviously, one of the more famous characters here, Rorschach. He is the Question. Night Owl here is very clearly the Ted Cord Blue Beetle, down to his little the shape and design of his little spaceship thing. I believe the comedian whose death kicks off all of this stuff is supposed to be the Peacemaker, because the character is just so ridiculous that he loves peace so much he'll kill to preserve it. I know in Doomsday Clock they do introduce some new characters to Alan Moore's world, and know it is set after the end of this story, which honestly, when Alan Moore wrote it and I read this, and I've read it several times, the ending I think is perfect because it leaves so much to the imagination, and you can only wonder if this is a cycle that will be repeated in time. Now, as we find out, it kind of is because of Doomsday Clock, but I do feel like I can separate the story. I can enjoy Watchmen for what it is, kind of like a singular storyline. But at the same time, I'm also going to try to look at it as a lead into the Doomsday Clock event. Now, I have been behind on my DC Comics event collection. So after this, I think the next one is Heroes in Crisis and then Dark Knight's Metal. But I could have that reversed. If I do, feel free to let me know. And if you're interested in seeing me go through any of this stuff, of course, leave a comment. Otherwise, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.